I had pictured this anniversary night going so differently. I imagined candles, soft music in the background, maybe both of us laughing as we reminisced about everything we'd been through. But the moment we sat down, it felt like tiptoeing across broken glass instead of celebrating anything. Emma sat across from me with her phone flipped over, her expression stiff and unreadable. I had seen the distance growing for months. Quiet moments that stretched too long, cold shoulders, late nights she brushed off with vague excuses. Still, I hoped tonight might remind us of who we used to be. When the waiter poured the wine, I lifted my glass with a small smile. To us. She barely raised hers. Sure. I tried to let it slide, but her eyes made it painfully clear. She wasn't really here with me. Her mind had already checked out. Then, out of nowhere, she let out a sharp breath and dropped her fork. I can't do this, she said, her voice shaking with frustration. She'd been holding back. The entire room felt like it froze. Can't do what? I asked, caught off guard. She looked straight at me, cheeks flushed. Pretend. Pretend everything's fine. Pretend this dinner magically fixes all of it. My first instinct was to soothe her, but something told me she wasn't looking for calm. She wanted a spark, any spark, to unleash what she'd been storing up. Emma, I said quietly, I wasn't expecting tonight to fix everything. I just wanted to celebrate us, maybe remember what it felt like before everything turned so heavy. She laughed, a sharp, hollow sound. Before things got heavy? You mean before you started treating me like some project? Before you stopped listening? The words hit hard, not because they were true, but because they felt rehearsed. I could tell she'd been waiting to deliver them. People around us were glancing over. The tension was thick enough to touch. I leaned in slightly. If you're upset, say what you need to say. Just don't turn this into a performance. Her eyes widened. That struck straight through the shield she'd built. And then she detonated. You don't get it. You never get it, she snapped, her voice rising. I'm done pretending we're happy when everything feels fake. Her voice echoed, and the whole restaurant seemed to inhale slowly. But I didn't raise mine. I didn't match her energy. I just sat there, steady and silent. The waiter, coming toward us with dessert, quietly backed away. Emma's breathing got sharp and uneven, anger spilling out with no filter. Her eyes glistened, not with sadness, but with pure frustration. I hear you, I said, calm and low. You're angry, maybe with reason, but yelling doesn't make your point stronger. It only buries what's actually real. My calm only agitated her more. You always do this, she shot back. You hide behind that calm voice and blank face. You make me feel insane. I could have fought back. I could have thrown every contradiction at her, including the nights she claimed to be working late, with friends I'd never heard of. But I didn't. Something in me recognized this wasn't just anger, it was guilt in disguise. So I stayed quiet and let her vent. She ranted about my predictability, my distance, how the spark was gone. Every word was a blade sharpened by her own unrest. I let her speak without interrupting, not out of indifference, but because I needed her to hear the way her version of the truth was unraveling. When she finally stopped, the silence between us was thick. I leaned back slightly and asked softly, Are you done? She frowned, instantly thrown. What's that even supposed to mean? It means, I said, meeting her eyes, you've spent months trying to pin your unhappiness on anything or anyone. And I've watched you drift, hoping you'd come back on your own. But now I get it. You don't want to come back. You just want an exit that makes you look like the victim. Her lips parted, and she froze mid-breath. For the first time that night, she had nothing ready to fire back. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. I know about the late nights, Emma. I know who's been calling. I didn't say anything because I hoped you'd tell me yourself. But instead of honesty, you brought anger to hide the guilt. The color drained from her face. You don't understand, she stammered, voice cracking. I shook my head gently. I understand more than you think. The restaurant suddenly felt smaller, like the walls were leaning in. Emma glanced around, hands trembling as she held her glass. The place that had always felt comfortable now suffocated her with truth. I stayed calm. No raised voice, no extra accusations. Just truth that finally had a place to stand. After a long stretch of silence, she whispered, barely audible, "I didn't think you knew." "I notice more than you think," I said. "I just gave you space to be honest." But tonight made something clear. Honesty wasn't coming. The shift in her was unmistakable. The anger that had boiled over just minutes ago started collapsing in on itself. She froze, overwhelmed by the steady certainty in my voice. I wasn't trying to embarrass her. I wanted clarity, nothing more. I wanted her to face the truth she'd been dodging behind excuses and bitterness. She looked down, shoulders falling, voice soft enough to break. I didn't want to ruin tonight. I just didn't know how to handle any of this." I reached across the table and touched her hand lightly. "Then handle it now," I said. "Not by exploding. Not by running. With honesty. That's the only way anything gets fixed." Her eyes filled, not with fury this time, but realization. She had been ready for a fight. For chaos. For me to shout back. But I gave her honesty wrapped in calm instead, and it disarmed every wall she'd been hiding behind. The rest of the night unfolded quietly. We talked, slow, careful, real, about the past months. Her fears. My observations. The disconnects neither of us wanted to admit before. It was uncomfortable at times, but it was the first honest conversation we'd had in a long time. When we left the restaurant, the tension had faded. Emma reached for my hand, holding it softly. "Thank you," she whispered. "For not yelling. For staying grounded." I gave her a faint smile. Sometimes the strongest response isn't anger. It's just being present. Being honest. And that night, something clicked into place for me. Strength doesn't have to be loud. Truth doesn't need theatrics. Calm isn't weakness. It's clarity in motion. Her outburst didn't break us. My calm didn't silence her. It centered us. And maybe, just maybe, it saved something worth fighting for.